Final call, 7 days to go. Stewards, volunteers, we need you. If we want this to be a success, we need volunteers. We need your help. We need you to help us keep order on the day, keep discipline, keep just directions. We need people at train stations directing people to the muster point, just helping, general helping. Please, if you're coming and you want to help make this a massive success, then Kaz, who this video's page is on, if you DM her, we want to build our steward team even bigger. There's lots of points where we need stewards on this march, man, so you will be helping us may have a successful event. If you want them, nationwear.co.uk. Caps, all different stuff. You know what, mate? Badges, flags. It's gonna be, I can't wait to see some of the homemade placards and banners. I'm really excited. So please, if you can, if you can, volunteer to be a steward. Thank you.
With just days to go before his planned September 13 demonstration in the capital, far-right activist Tommy Robinson has issued what he calls a final word to his supporters. In a new message released this week, Robinson appealed for more volunteers to help coordinate the arrival of participants, guide crowds into central London, and manage logistics for what he is billing as a historic day of protest. Robinson's pitch to volunteers carries the same mix of urgency and defiance that has marked his campaign in the run-up to the rally. He urged supporters not only to attend, but to take active roles in ensuring the day runs smoothly. We need boots on the ground, people who can guide our patriots into the city, people who can help hold the line, he said, describing the demonstration as a peaceful yet determined show of strength. His language casts the event as both celebratory and confrontational, a peaceful revolution with flags, music, and unity, but also a direct challenge to what he calls the erosion of freedoms and the tyranny of government. Behind the rhetoric, Robinson's message reflects the scale of preparation involved. He appealed for stewards, organizers, and volunteers willing to assist with transport and communication on the day. The call suggests Robinson expects thousands to travel to London, many from outside the capital, and is eager to ensure the march appears disciplined and organized. Observers note that this appeal mirrors previous large-scale mobilizations, where Robinson's team sought to emphasize order and security, to counter criticism that such gatherings often risk spiraling into confrontation. The Metropolitan Police are preparing for the event amid concerns over potential clashes with counter-protesters and the strain of managing large crowds in central London. While Robinson has repeatedly described the rally as peaceful, critics argue that his messaging attracts not only loyal followers, but also more extreme groups, raising the risk of disorder. Security experts also warn that Robinson's framing of the march as a once-in-a-generation event heightens expectations among supporters, making tensions more likely if the day does not unfold as planned. For Robinson, the September 13 rally is about more than numbers. It is a bid to demonstrate continued influence after years of being sidelined from mainstream politics. By mobilizing volunteers and supporters, he aims to show he can still draw large crowds and command media attention. Whether the event will be remembered as a disciplined display of protest or another flashpoint in Britain's ongoing battles over identity and democracy remains to be seen. But one thing is clear: Robinson is determined to make September 13 a defining moment, and he wants as many volunteers as possible to help him do it.
Evidently, Britain is on the brink of civil war, and that's according to Donald Trump's former chief strategist, Steve Bannon. He's warned that radical Islam is fueling unrest here at home and across Europe. James, is he right?
Absolutely not. This comes, and here I will say, Steve Bannon is a racist, and this...
What, because he's concerned about...
No, because of things that he has said and done, including in this particular piece. But let me come to where this comes from. In the United States, there is a long-standing, feverish dream on the extreme right. Matt knows about this; he's researched it, I'm sure, of the idea of a coming race war. And this doesn't come from concern for the people of the US. It comes from a particular fringe of the ultra-white supremacist, white nationalist right, which Steve Bannon flirts with at best. and it's not based in reality, it's not based in concern for the people in the US, and this is trying to transplant it onto here. He touches base, there's some hinge points, because a democratic socialist called Zohran Mamdani is the front runner to become the next mayor of New York. And this is, of course, horrific for Bannon, not on the basis of his socialism, but on the basis that he is a Muslim. And the idea that we are about to have a civil war in Britain is plainly nonsense.
Lots of people do feel that there is unrest, Matt.
Well, a civil war.
Just provide some context for the comments, because it is also true, as people following the Westminster debate know, that Steve Bannon is not the only person to say that we have a social contract in this country that is rapidly collapsing. Professor David Betts at UCL, who is a very respected academic, who has worked on civil conflict and civil wars in developing states for many years, he's looked at that literature, the academic literature, and he said, look, these are the things that you tend to see in societies that morph into conflict. And he's looked at the UK today, and he said, basically, you have a couple of things that make him very concerned. Just briefly, there's two things. One is you have this very tense and deteriorating relationship between the elites and the masses, between politicians and voters. And we can all feel that. We don't really, a lot of people out there don't respect Westminster. So you've got that. But then on top of that, as we saw, for example, in the Hare Hills riots, or in Southend, or in, you could argue in the aftermath of Southport in certain neighbourhoods, you have organised inter-ethnic tension that is sort of mobilising on group lines. And I think I'm right in saying, and I wouldn't put words into his mouth, but I think I'm right in saying that David Betts is saying, look, the factors that you would expect to see in a society that ends up having a very high conflict situation are already present in the UK.
I mean, Steve Bannon, James, does say the fact that thousands of people are hanging British flags across the nation. This should be a warning that people are angry about the way this country is going. What do you say to that?
It doesn't mean that there's going to be a civil war. I don't look at people hanging up flags and think, oh my goodness, there's going to be a civil war. What's wrong with hanging up flags? I think that Steve Bannon, this is a feverish dream of his. He would like there to be some kind of civil strife here. Now, the first point that this Betts, who I'll read his work, I haven't come across him before. The first point in Matt's presentation of it about elites and the masses and the broken social contract, that we all know. I'm not saying
I think everyone would agree with
yes,
that. People would agree with that. Yes.
We don't trust our political class.
Yes.
12% of people trust political
people
parties.
People are not being listened to by any party.
Right. That's not the argument that Steve Bannon's saying. He's saying that because there are Muslims in this country, we are going to have a civil war. That is the argument in which he's making, which is plainly inflammatory, nonsense, factually wrong, and should be rejected rather than academic wash.
I just come back on one thing, though, that does concern me. And this is not to say I agree with everything that Steve Bannon has said. But what worries me about this country, just to be clear, is in 2010, David Cameron came out and said multiculturalism has failed. Angela Merkel said the same in Germany. Nicolas Sarkozy said the same in France. Yet here we are in 2025, and we don't even talk about integration anymore. We don't even talk about the 40,000 Islamist extremists that the security services have said publicly are in the country. We don't talk about why are there more than 80 Sharia courts in the country. We don't talk about what's going on in the mosques. We don't talk. What we do talk about is Islamophobia and why we shouldn't talk in challenging ways about Islam. And what I'm worried about, and I think what people out there are worried about, is we've had this policy of mass uncontrolled immigration imposed on us. Nobody ever voted for it. Yet at the same time, nobody in Westminster is even saying, well, how are we going to integrate everybody? How are we going to integrate communities? Because your assumption, I think I'm right in saying, James, is, well, basically everybody, gets along in this progressive kind of utopia, but that's not how human nature works. So where's the policy on integration in this country?
James, very, very quickly. Do you want to come back to that one?
It's not listening to people like Steve Bannon, and I'm afraid you often yourself, who are trying to divide people.
No, I'm trying to say these are really important issues we've got to talk about.
And you never propose anything which is going to remotely make people living together any easier.
Control migration, slow the pace of change, integrate children in local schools, take on radical Islamists who really do try and exploit and manipulate and divide people. I could go on, make people speak English. We've got 1 million people in the country that don't speak English. I could go on and on all day. We always suggest alternatives, but nobody in Westminster ever wants to listen. They just say, have a bit more mass immigration and don't blame us if everybody gets angry.